Well, right now there is a hurricane brewing and on its way to Louisiana, which is where I live. So if you hear like rain or lightning or something, um, that's why. But fortunately, our electricity, our power is still on, and I don't think it's actually going to get bad until like a few hours from now. So hopefully we'll be fine. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about favorite TV shows because with my health, going up and down as I've mentioned in other videos, a lot of times all I can really do is like watch TV. So, during the times when I've been really, really sick, I'll just like be in bed pretty much all day and I'll just find a show that I really like on Netflix usually and just like watch it for hours, which is pathetic, but it helps to pass the time when when your body isn't allowing you to do anything else. Um, and it also can make you feel good. Even if you're in pain, when you watch something really, really good, it can take you out of your pain even for a little bit. So I wanted to ask you, like, do you have a favorite TV show or streamed series, and would you recommend it? So if you have any recommendations, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Um, and I also wanted to talk about one show that I think is probably my favorite so far. I think I could safely say it's my favorite out of everything I've watched in like the past decade. And that is The Good Place, written by Michael, I think you say his last name is Schur, Michael Schur, but he was also a writer on The Office, which I also love, and Parks and Rec. So he's kind of like a comedy writer, but he also knows how to bring drama and intense emotions into the comedy. And he balances out really well. So, like during the last episode of The Good Place and The Office, I found myself like laughing and crying at the same time. And for me, I think that's a sign of really good writing. So even though The Good Place is like, I think it's 4 or 5 years old by now, I recently rewatched it again when I wasn't feeling well a few months back. Um, and it was like watching it for the first time. That's how good the writing was. Um, and I think it's not just the writing, but there are like four four things that I came up with um, about why I'm obsessed with the show and why you might like it if you like comedies and this sort of thing. Because it is a little quirky and weird. But the first thing I really think that makes it great is the acting. The acting is top notch, in my opinion. Um, I feel like there are a lot of shows where the actors are good, like they're way better than I would be at any sort of acting. But sometimes it feels like they're just delivering a line. I didn't find that on The Good Place. It was every single actor, like they brought a lot of depth to their role. They're all obviously talented, but they were very thoughtful and intentional about each line that they delivered, even their body language. They fully embodied the characters that they played, and they committed fully to their roles. So even though it was a comedy, they brought like I don't know, a lot of depth to their roles and they took their characters seriously so that we, the audience, took them seriously too. So acting was great. The second thing I liked about it um, was that you really learned something from it. And the thing that you learned mostly from The Good Place was philosophy. Every single episode was a low key philosophy class, or you could even say a logic class. Um, and it taught me because I never got a chance to take philosophy. I just took logic. But it taught me, and I pretty much almost failed logic, terrible at it. But watching The Good Place taught me things that I hadn't had a chance to learn in school about like famous philosophers, um, and some of the theories about why we're here, why we exist, and what our purpose is. And it really gave me a whole new take on life, especially like I mentioned, I had been watching it the second go round. I watched The Good Place when I was not in a good place physically, like my body was just not working. Um, so when that happens, if you've been through that, if you've been sick yourself, you know that when your body is failing you, you pretty much are like, if I die tomorrow, that's fine. It's not like you want to die, but you just kind of you're not feeling life. But when I was going through that and I watched The Good Place, it made me appreciate life. Even though I couldn't fully participate in it because of health issues, it made me appreciate what I had experienced and gave me like a little hope for the future. Um, because it taught philosophy in a way that was funny and refreshing and warm. Like if you had a really good friend who was also very smart and they were explaining something complicated to you, but in the way that a good friend would, who makes you laugh. That's what the good place is, if that makes any sense. The third thing that I liked about it, this kind of is almost the same thing as the second one I just said, but every TV show or series or even movie, um, or book, every form of storytelling teaches the audience something. That's part of what makes good writing, having a theme. And a theme and story. And theme and story, when they're done properly, usually they teach the audience something. Now, we don't feel like we're being preached to or taught something. We just feel like, oh, that was a good story. But low key, what stories do is they teach. And like, for example, Mad Men, that was one of my favorite shows years ago. It taught me that life is a series of falls, just like in the beginning of the what do you call it, the intro to the show. It shows you a visual of Don Draper like fall. Well, I think it's Don Draper. He's like falling. I think the theme of that show, what I got from it or what I learned was that life is a series of falls and redemption stories. It just keeps happening over and over and over again. That's what life is. Breaking Bad, which is also one of my favorite shows, taught me that evil is like a virus. Sort of like COVID, it didn't matter who you were, didn't matter your station in life, didn't matter if you do a lot of good things or do a lot of bad things. COVID was something that you were susceptible to. And I learned from Breaking Bad that evil is like that. It really doesn't matter if you have a good heart or if you're someone who doesn't have much of a conscience. Evil can, when it's around you, no matter who you are, it can easily, like, it's like a contagion, if that's the right word. It's contagious and it can easily spread into you and like corrupt you or whatever. Um, so The Good Place, I feel like it taught something that I'd never really seen on a show before. And it sounds really simple, but it was so refreshing. It taught me, above anything, that when you don't know what to do in a situation or even how to feel, just go with empathy and you'll be fine. That will never steer you wrong. That's what I learned from The Good Place, that above all, empathy is the thing that matters for us as humans. So if you're having a bad day, if you're having a bad life, which, the last few years, I can honestly say I've had a bad life. um, I felt like, you know what, that's okay. It's okay because the one thing I can control is my empathy for other people and empathy for myself too. So I think that was a really good theme, or I guess you could say lesson, that The Good Place was built on. And the fourth thing that made that show perfect was the actor Manny Jacinto, who played Jason. He is perfect in every freaking way. Gorgeous, gorgeous. But more than that, like, I love that he plays this character who you would suspect that he does not have many functioning brain cells, okay? Like think Phoebe from Friends. Um, yeah, okay? That was basically who he played, but he brought so much depth to that role. And it made me realize that playing someone who is quote unquote simple, I don't think anyone is simple minded, but playing a character who is supposed to be simple is actually difficult. It's difficult to do that well. And Manny did it perfectly because every once in a while, his character Jason would say these really intelligent things, and everyone else around him, the other characters, would be like, "What? Did that just come from him?" But he made it believable because even when he was saying dumb things or silly things, he he showed how much he really believed what he was saying. Like he wasn't just this dumb guy, but he was a whole a full person who really had a logic behind everything that he said, everything that he thought. So even though his character was supposed to be thoughtless, the actor who played him showed that the character was actually very thoughtful. He just thought differently from other people. Um, in a way that made him viewed as simple. And I can relate to that in some ways because I think some of the I think a lot of INFPs, like if you watch this channel, you know that I talk about being an INFP, the personality type, quite a bit, um, and the different ways that affects your life. And I think maybe other INFPs might be able to relate to this. Some of us who actually are very deep thinkers, sometimes because we and I'm not saying I'm like super smart or anything. I'm not. I'm a person. All people have intelligence, but I'm not like a genius or even really that good at anything. But but I do think really deeply about things. Um, even things like farting. And I know it sounds weird, but like if I am around friends, I will say things like what are something like I was thinking something the other day about farting. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about like I was trying to in my mind compare stars with our human farts. I was like thinking, I wonder if we could see more color. I think it was something like, I wonder if we can see more colors, if we had that ability, if we would actually be able to see our farts, like if they would glow. I'm thinking that would be so cool because, like, when you look up at the stars, you're actually looking at giant balls of gas, but they're beautiful. So we're looking at all these beautiful farts in the universe. Okay, but I was by myself thinking about that. But had I been around friends, I would have said that. And so a lot of times, like, in the past when I was way more social because my health was better, I would say things like that a lot. And I think a lot of my acquaintances thought I was dumb because like they thought Paula does not have any brain cells because I would say stuff like that and people would laugh. And that was I wanted to make people laugh because I thought it was funny, but also I was serious, like, you know. So I I appreciate Jason's character because I can relate a little bit. Sometimes you just say things that sound dumb, but there really is thought behind it. Like you're not as dumb as you sound. I'm probably gonna regret posting this, but you know what? Only like 2 people will watch it, so that's okay. So yeah, I just was, gonna ramble a little bit about the good place while I wait for a hurricane, and hopefully it won't flood this house. Um, this house has flooded like twice in the past 8 years. Yeah, in the past 8 years from hurricanes. Well, actually, one time it was just a bad rainstorm. So hopefully that won't happen this time. We shall see. All right. Well, that is today's completely random video. Thank you for watching if you made it through this.